One of the things I want to try not to do in this podcast series is to ever compare one game to another game for a couple of reasons. One, it's not fair to the developers who made the game itself, and it's also not fair to the game itself, to the game as an entity as itself. It's just not fair. So when I say that Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a wonderful game, I'm talking about from the perspective of a trophy hunter. As a trophy hunter who has tried to go back and complete the other 2 games in the Revival series, Shadow of the Tomb Raider from a trophy hunting perspective is the best game. But it is not as good as a game as it should be for fans of Tomb Raider. And in a space that now has competitors like fucking Nathan Drake in Uncharted, and eventually when Bethesda does get their game out, Indiana Jones, the granddaddy of all Americana-esque treasure hunters, archaeologist, this game just doesn't hold up. And yes, I know that Lara is British and whatever, not my point. This game isn't going to be able to hold up. From a video game perspective, the story almost falls flat. The pacing is all off and it just doesn't really work. Now when you compare it to the other 2 games in its own Revival series, let alone other Tomb Raider games. I can't talk about the other Tomb Raider games at this point because I haven't really done them. I haven't platinumed them. I haven't gone through and meticulously seen everything the game has to offer in a way of a acknowledged challenge. So I can't talk about those early games. But after playing all of the original Tomb Raider, the original Revival Tomb Raider, and Rise of the Tomb Raider, its sequel that got all kind of messed up in the politics of climbed exclusives, this game from a trophy hunting perspective is the best. Hands down, no questions asked. And that is because it doesn't have a dumb gimmick attached to it. Now that is a very low bar to be reaching for, but unfortunately that is where the Revival series kind of has to go. In the first game, you have this train wreck of a multiplayer that's kind of just bolted on, making the original Revival Tomb series in the series a poor man's bland as bland early 2010s game. It's almost a miracle that the other 2 games got made because of just how bland and generic that game ends up being. But I'm going to go more into that in a different podcast episode. Rise of the Tomb Raider has its weird card mechanic that, as of today, I still don't understand, and it's a huge barrier for me personally on going to hunt that game. And then you have Shadow of the Tomb Raider, a game where it feels like all the creative license and all the more narrative, exciting parts of the game series has been forgotten. Well, before you would have bits of treasure and lore read to you by other characters, and the characters that would have hypothetically written them or recorded them in some instances, now they all get read through the lens of Lara. And I'm going to say Lara, not Lara, because that's how I'm just going to say it, Lara Croft. Even though I did call the game Lara Croft. It's confusing, I'm going to mix it up, and both sides are going to hate me. Okay, moving on. Shadow of the Tomb Raider is a game that I was really excited for. I had appreciated the other 2 games in the series from a player perspective, and with this one taking place in the Peruvian jungle, I felt like I was finally going to get a game that for me had not only the more gameplay aesthetic of jungles and swimming and underwater, things that I had come to have known that Tomb Raider is supposed to be about, and match it with a location that is personally really important to me. While I didn't get this platinum trophy after coming off of some trip, I love it when games are take place in Peruvian culture, or just get that Peruvian type of vibe and energy from. It's something that I didn't realize I missed until I got really excited for this game. I miss and am still missing just good Hispanic characters that aren't just "Órale, ¿qué pasa contigo?" Sorry for peeking there. But that's what I mean. Whenever a Hispanic character kind of gets thrown in, it gets loud and abrasive. So I was really excited for this game. And I know I still haven't talked about a single trophy, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But I kind of want you to know and understand the context of when I was going into this hunt. Now, the thumbnail you're looking at is made by a thumbnail artist that I don't really work with anymore, after not so much a disagreement, but a difference in opinion in certain things. And I will put his link in his Fiverr link in the description down below, like I'm starting to do with all of my podcasts, for two reasons. One, it was an oversight on my part, but two, that's not what you're staring at if you're watching at the video form of this on YouTube. But this thumbnail, as much as I don't like this thumbnail, is kind of a perfect representation for the game. It's not as good as it should be. So I'm going to now go through all of these trophies one by one, like we always do. And if you guys have any thoughts or any opinions, let me know in the comment section down below if you're on YouTube. And one day when I get on Spotify and I fight with them through that, I don't know, do something on Spotify? Look up gaming on Spotify? Who knows? Moving on. So our first, I should also mention before I go really into the specific trophies of this list, that all of these videos are an entire playlist for a playthrough of this game is located on the channel. Back when I used to do daily playthrough videos. If you want to, go find them. They're on the channel somewhere. I'm not taking down any video I've ever made, but it is there for you. I don't recommend it because I am cringe half the time. But hey, if you made it to a 7-minute mark and a 7.5-minute mark in a podcast about trophies and we haven't talked about a single trophy, you must like me. Moving on. So the first trophy we have is the Path of the Stars. It's a story mission that I'm not going to talk about too much, but there you go. Same thing with Dia de Muertos. I can't say that at all. Recipe for Disaster, First Steps, Survival Instincts, and I want to say asking price, but I feel like that is somewhat avoidable. It's buying an item from a merchant. In the pod where you kind of start getting into the actual game of it, you can stop at almost the last pre-stop before the game actually kicks off, where you can buy stuff from a merchant. That's going to be the first time that you get a chance to buy this game, to buy this trophy essentially. But there are plenty of others in the main game, and it's not a missable trophy at all. Treasures from the Past, Deciphering a Monolith is the trophy. Treasures from the Past, with the description of Decipher a Monolith, is a trophy that I call a signpost trophy. It's one that if you're going to get all the trophies anyway, you're going to have to do. So just kind of like, hey, just so you know, I'm here. Please come and do me. Thank you. First Blood is a tutorial trophy. Look over there, kill 3 enemies when they are distracted. I don't think I have to explain that because there's nothing else there besides, hey, that enemy was distracted and you killed them. Do that 3 times. Fire of Life, campaign mission. Perform a stealth takedown 25 enemies. Learn of 5 interesting locations from civilians. This is one of the more unique trophies, the point of interest. Just talking to other civilians, some of them will have exclamation points above their heads to indicate a side mission, and others would just be kind of worth talking to. It does, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, for all of its other faults, does try to make the world more lived in and more living and breathing. It is quite interesting. Now, I do want to say now, because I did kind of skip over it, like a Shadow, perform a stealth takedown on 25 enemies. All of the combat trophies in this game can be grinded out. So essentially what I would do is, if you're just trying to streamline the service as quickly as possible, is A, play it on the hardest difficulty. Be aware that you will have to play this game at least twice anyway, because the actual hardest difficulty, which has a trophy attached to it, doesn't come until after you've done a full playthrough of the game. Which, bummer, I know. But like a shadow and all the other combat trophies, you can just pick a checkpoint, grind out what you need to do, restart the checkpoint, and your kills will carry over. At least they did when I did this back in 2018. I haven't heard or seen anything that would indicate that there was a change via a patch or something, but just so you know, that might be a while, so it wasn't for me, is what I'm saying. Unwelcome Guest is another one of the wonderful story missions. Help Thy Neighbor. You will have to do all the side missions if you want to pick up all of the bits and bobs of archaeology that I'm told is supposed to be in the game. So again, this ends up being just another side piece. And what I mean by what I'm told is in the game is that for all of the picking up treasures and all this and that, you end up destroying a lot and breaking a lot of the architectural rules of archaeology. So, you know, Lara Croft, you're gonna Lara Croft, I guess. Untold Riches. Gather 40 ore. Again, is just one of those grinding out resources and you will be fine. The Hidden City, the Underworld, and New Heights are all trophies that are centered on the story, and we don't talk about story trophies here. If you're new, it is mostly because we're trying to get people to play the game, even if it's bad, even if the game is terrible. If you've decided to play this game and you're thinking about growing treasure trophy hunting stuff, you should have the gifts that comes with certain surprises, and that is just how we do it. So there's all that. Como te llama? Y llama is a terrible joke name for petting 5 llamas in the Hidden City. Family Ties is another one of those fun story missions. Tables turned, kill 5 enemies when they are searching for Lara. I don't need to explain that, I've already kind of have. Chain Gain, perform Serpent's Fury 3 times. This is one of your abilities that you're going to unlock as you go through the game. Marksmen, perform 20 headshots with a bow, playing with fire, burn 2 enemies simultaneously. These are both trophies that you can grind out via combat checkpoints, and it's what I did to get them. Craft special ammunition 50 times. This is something you would get just by playing through the game. You end up being kind of strapped for ammo via normal conventions, but by crafting you'll always have more than enough ammo to get you through the day. Heart of the Serpent is another one of those story missions. Makeshift Arsenal, Archaeologist. These are both trophies that are just signpost trophies essentially. One, Makeshift Arsenal for fully upgrading a weapon, and Archaeologist for completing an artifact collection. Both of these you're going to end up doing in the long run anyway, so there's no real rush. The Chosen One, back where we started, Queen of the Damned. All 3 of these are campaign trophies, you'll be fine. Surprise, perform 5 Eagle's Talent takedowns. It's another ability that you have to unlock through it, grinding out XP and then going to the campsite to pick the ability to go forward. Last known position, lose the enemy 10 times. Another one of those funnel combat trophies. Rite of Passage, quite the adventure. Smart and resourceful. These are all trophies that are concerned about completing the game on a specific difficulty. No big deal. Just beat the game. Better equipment. Get 3 pieces of equipment. Again, from here on out, every trophy I've done has been done after completing the main campaign. And being that I was doing this as a video at the time, you can kind of see how that went. if you so choose. But for the most part, the rest of these trophies are easy peasy, grind out, get 100% of everything in the game, because that is something that the Tomb Raider series, the Tomb Raider Revival series, is really particular about. If you're gonna go through and platinum these games, you will have to do absolutely everything in these games every single time. So just be aware. I believe Hawken can fly. Rescue Hawken from the cultist. That is a side mission trophy. To the nines, restore and equip a matching vestige outfit. You'll unlock these from doing side missions. Zoologist, collect 20 quitters. Steel Hunter, complete 3 main game challenge tombs. Restoring peace, uncover 3 main game crypt secrets. Those are both items that get marked on the map as you progress. So just kind of be aware of those and know that you will be doing all of them anyway. So if you see it and you can do it, just go ahead and do it as you see them and as you have the abilities and equipment to do so. Legendary Hunter, hunt and loot 5 rare enemies. Again, ends up just being something done through side missions and through exploration. Thanksgiving, shoot a turkey with a flare round. I don't have any other explanation besides that. There you go. 6th Sense, hunt and kill 10 enemies while perspective is active. In the moment, kill 10 enemies while focus is active. Pick a checkpoint and do them. I did them after the story, so that's not even the best how I did it personally, but it is a way you can do it with having very little stress. Underwater Archaeologist, collect 5 underwater artifacts. This is a trophy that the devs were proud of because they were finally able to put underwater and swimming sections in the Tomb Raider game. Something that was in the original Tomb Raider series back when it came out for the PS1. So, I'm not sure why you guys are patting your back so hard there, guys. Up to the challenge, complete 5 challenges. There you go. Hearts and Minds, retrieve Manco's necklace. That is one of the side mission trophies. Again, you have to do all of them anyway, so just be aware. Beast of Legend, Good Samaritan. Both of these are more side mission heavy trophies. With this game kind of being so generic and almost forgettable, if it wasn't for this series, I would have definitely forgotten that I had platinumed this game. Despite it coming out for PS Plus members quasi recently, of when this podcast goes out, it's still not memorable. If anything, I have to be shown the game to be like, oh yes, I did platinum these games. Specialized, earn all skills in one category. Tomb Raider, complete all main game challenge tombs. Treasure Hunter, find and open all main game conquistador treasure chest. Dr. Croft, complete all artifact locations. And Completionist. All of those kind of fall under the banner of reach 100%. You'll get them all respectively for different things. So Tomb Raider is for doing all the challenge tombs. Treasure Hunter is for doing all the treasure chests. With that word that I can't say. Dr. Croft is for doing all the artifact collections, and 100% is 100%. Now, I'm pretty sure from here, I either continue to kind of just roam around to make sure I got all of the combat trophies out of the way first before going into my second playthrough on the hardest difficulty. But from here, Gunslinger performed 3 headshots in 3 seconds with the pistol. I'm pretty sure I fully upgraded the pistol and then went to a lower level area and just went to town until I popped it using my perception to slow down time and get much better with my aiming. Total party kill is for killing 5 enemies with friendly fire, using your poison arrows to manipulate them. It's not that hard of a trophy once you know what you have to do. It's just a matter of doing it as quickly as possible. Made to endure, take down 10 enemies when endurance is active. You need to unlock the skill first before you can go for the trophy. One with the Jungle, Deadly Obsession are both trophies that are difficulty specific. The Deadly Obsession trophy is going to be your hardest difficulty setting. It is the difficulty setting that is unlocked after you complete the game. So just kind of be made aware that you are going to be going into the hardest difficulty at some point. A difficulty that isn't even unlocked at the beginning of the game. So, as much as it is upsetting and unforgettable, you will have to be playing this game twice, and I still don't fully remember what happened in the game. That just leaves us with the Chalice of Torment, which ends up being the Platinum Trophy. It is an ultra rare Platinum Trophy sitting at 0.9% for general public. Now, sometimes with these things, these podcasts are just going to be shorter. I do kind of want to talk about what the video was going to be when it's possible. And for this game, it is definitely possible. The original intent for this video... Oh, if you guys are leaving, thank you guys for watching and listening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys thought in the... whatever you can, because I don't have social media, which makes me very difficult to pin down. But the original intent for this video was I was going to do something of a parody where I would dress up in like a low tank top, cover myself in mud, and be like, "Are you glad I'm back?" Because this was going to be the original video that I was going to come back with when my computer broke down and was completely unusable. While now my computer is only struggling to do basic things, back then my computer was 100% out of bounds. I couldn't even log on to it. It was completely unusable. So somehow this game still manages to be the game where it's like, yep, this is the new normal. Welcome. And not the introduction of that idea. So good on you, shout out to Tomb Raider. Now, while this game, like I've called it a number of times at this point, is completely forgettable, and it's mostly because of the story, and because there isn't, as much as it is a blessing, no side gimmick that forces you to remember it, even if that remembrance is much more one of infamy than just being famous for being a good game. This game is incredibly frustrating to play. And to go through and do the 100% thing that it asks you to. But at the end of the day, I can't say that I'm upset with it either. This is essentially my first time hanging out with Lara Croft to the extent of what platinuming a game requires me of. Now she's in everything from her own movie, which is maybe getting a sequel I heard rumors of, to being in Fortnite with Batman and Superman and Iron Man and Wolverine, which is absolutely insane to even think about that. Tomb Raider, and Lara Croft has always been an icon. Whether or not she was in Fortnite or whether or not she got this revival, she was always going to be an icon of the gaming scene. Whether it was for being one of the most badass female protagonists that this entire medium has, similar to how Ripley is that in movies and Sarah Connor is for movies. We had Tomb Raider and Samus Aran. And the fact that my first experience really going all the way with Lara Croft in a very platonic way, you animals, is kind of disappointing. It's like finding out that your hero is a bit of a douchebag. Or not even so much that, but is so completely forgettable and mundane that they might as well be a Tuesday. There were moments that I had a lot of fun in this game. And you can see them in the playthrough that I did, the storytime playthrough I did back in the day. But there's so much of this game that just ends up being forgettable. Half the stuff that I talked about in this podcast is more based off of, now that I'm talking about and actively trying to remember things about it, I can. But I can remember Brutality 101 for Batman Arkham without even thinking about it. I can think of, all the crazy stuff I had to do for Persona 5 and what ended up being 2.5 playthroughs there. I can think about so many things that I just don't have to here. This game at the end of the day is almost too safe for its own good. And as much as I wish there was more forward, there really isn't. And that is why I was able to do it in the meantime. I platinumed this game because it was easy and it was pathetic. Yes, it was a AAA game, but in comparison to some of the other much more challenging and much more mind-mounting games that I've done. I'm looking at you, Dead by Daylight. I'm looking at you, Call of Duty World War II. I'm looking at you, Call of Duty Infinite and Overwatch and Doom 2016. This game is just not. And it is kind of upsetting. If you guys have Platinum Shadow of the Tomb Raider when it was free on PS Plus or whenever, let me know what you guys thought of it somewhere on the internet, and I probably won't see it unless you're doing it on YouTube, because I will see that. And thank you guys for listening. I will see you next time. This has been Tales of the Hunt, and my name has been Insane Raven.